You don't feel lost because you're broken. You feel lost because you've been living disconnected from your purpose, your truth, and yourself. You're running on autopilot, doing what you should do, but it all feels empty. This isn't a phase, it's a psychological signal, a wake-up call from your soul. And unless you understand what's really happening, the spiral doesn't stop. Let's break it down. You've outgrown the life you built. There comes a point when the life you built stops fitting you. You followed the rules, checked the boxes. Maybe you got the job, the degree, the relationship, but now you feel disconnected. Like you're floating through your days, watching a version of yourself that no longer feels real. This isn't failure, it's growth. You've evolved, but your life hasn't caught up. The routines that once gave you structure now feel like cages. The goals that once excited you feel meaningless. And the scariest part? You can't explain why. Psychologically, this is a classic sign of developmental transition, a point where your inner world demands realignment. Carl Jung called it individuation, the process of becoming your true self. But first, it feels like a breakdown. Your lostness is not regression, it's expansion. You're shedding an identity that no longer serves you. But because you haven't stepped into the new one yet, you feel stuck in limbo. You're not going backward, you're being restructured. And it's painful because there's grief in outgrowing a life, even one that made you miserable. There's fear in walking away from what's familiar, even if it's killing your spirit. But feeling lost here is the first sign you're waking up. You're not behind, you're just in between. The old version of you is dying, so the real one can finally emerge. The false self is running the show. Most people don't live as who they truly are. They live as who they were trained to be. From a young age, we're taught which parts of ourselves are acceptable. Be polite, be agreeable, don't rock the boat. And little by little, we build a version of ourselves that keeps us safe but not whole. Psychology calls this the false self, a persona crafted to win love, approval, and belonging. It's not a lie, it's a survival strategy. But over time, it becomes a prison. You smile when you want to cry. You say yes when your soul is screaming no. You chase success not because it fulfills you, but because it gives you value in other people's eyes. But inside, you feel numb, empty, lost, because when the false self runs your life, the real self suffocates. Your creativity withers, your instincts fade, and worst of all, you begin to forget who you are beneath the performance. This inner conflict is exhausting, and it's the root of your disorient. You're not lazy or confused, you're just out of alignment. The path back isn't self-improvement, it's self-recovery. You must dismantle the mask and reconnect with the parts you buried to survive. Because you weren't born to be liked, you were born to be whole, and every step away from your false self is a step back into your real life. You're starving for meaning, not success. The world tells you to chase achievement, to build, to rise, to win. And maybe you did. Maybe you got what you thought you wanted, the job, the house, the followers, the money, but still something feels hollow. That's because success and meaning are not the same. Success feeds the ego, meaning feeds the soul. You can reach every milestone and still feel lost if your achievements aren't rooted in something deeper, something real, something personal. Psychologists have long studied this gap, and Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, said it best. When a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. That's what most people are doing, running on dopamine, distractions, and external validation, trying to silence the ache of an unlived life. But your soul doesn't want more status, it wants more substance. You're not tired because you're doing too much, you're tired because none of it feels meaningful. To reclaim your direction, you must redefine what success means to you, not your parents, not society, not your peers. What moves me? What matters when no one's watching? What would I still do, even if I failed? The answers won't come from hustle. They'll come from stillness. And when you align your actions with those answers, you'll no longer feel lost. You'll feel home. Your inner child is still unhurt. There's a younger version of you inside, still waiting to be seen. This child carries wounds that were never healed, words you never got to say, emotions you had to suppress. Maybe you were taught to be strong, quiet, perfect. Maybe you learned that love had to be earned. Now, as an adult, those wounds show up as self-doubt, perfectionism, anxiety, or numbness. You don't trust yourself. You don't feel safe in the world. You fear abandonment, rejection, or failure. Not because you're weak, but because your inner child still lives in survival mode. You feel lost because part of you is still stuck in the past, waiting for safety, waiting to be chosen, waiting to be understood. Psychologically, this is the reparenting work. Learning to give yourself what your caregivers couldn't: love without conditions, boundaries without guilt, validation without begging. The inner child doesn't need you to be perfect. They just need you to stop abandoning yourself the way others did. Every time you ignore your intuition, silence your needs, or chase validation, you repeat the original wound. But every time you pause and ask, "What do I need right now?" you begin healing. Reconnecting with your inner child isn't regression, it's integration. And when you learn to listen to that voice, soft, scared, but honest, your sense of direction begins to return. Because feeling whole starts with feeling heard. Modern life disconnects you from your soul. Modern life is fast, loud, and relentless. You're surrounded by noise, social media, deadlines, notifications, every minute. Your attention is being pulled outward. But your soul doesn't speak in noise, it speaks in silence. That's why you feel lost. Because in all the busyness, you've lost the one relationship that matters most, the one with yourself. Your nervous system is overstimulated, your mind is fragmented, and your inner world, the space where dreams are born and wisdom lives, has been neglected. Carl Jung said, "People will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But in a world of endless distraction, facing your soul feels impossible. You're rarely alone, and even when you are, you're not present. But the truth is, your direction, your clarity, your answers, they're all inside you, buried, not missing. To find them again, you must slow down. Spend time in stillness. Walk without headphones. Write without a goal. Let your inner world speak, even if at first it only whispers, because your soul isn't lost. It's waiting. Waiting for you to remember, to return, to come home. And when you begin to nourish that inner connection, your sense of purpose, clarity, and direction will slowly awaken. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out. How to begin finding yourself again. You don't need to change everything overnight. You just need to start telling the truth. Finding yourself isn't a dramatic transformation. It's a quiet remembering, a gentle excavation of what's been buried beneath roles, fears, and expectations. Here's how it begins. Name what's not working. Where are you pretending? Where do you feel empty? You can't heal what you won't admit. Honesty is the first act of power. Reconnect with what made you feel alive. What lit you up before the world told you to be realistic? Art, nature, curiosity, movement. These are not hobbies, they are soul food. Say no more often. Lostness thrives in overcommitment. Every yes to what drains you is a no to what could save you. Create sacred silence. Spend 10 minutes a day in stillness. Not meditating perfectly, just sitting. Let the dust settle. Let yourself feel. Choose one act of alignment daily. A journal entry, a hard conversation, a long walk. Small acts done in truth rebuild trust with yourself. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to start walking, not toward perfection, but toward you. The path isn't linear, but it's real, and that's all your soul ever wanted. Your lostness is the beginning of your real life. You're not broken, you're not behind, you're not lazy, weak, or failing. You're in the sacred in-between, the place where the false life dissolves and the true life begins. Psychologically, this is called liminality, a threshold space, 1 foot in the old, 1 foot in the unknown. It's confusing, raw, and uncomfortable, but it's also where transformation happens. You feel lost because your soul refuses to live in autopilot anymore. It's no longer willing to numb out, perform, or settle. This is the moment it finally said, enough. Enough pretending, enough pleasing, enough forgetting yourself to be accepted. Your lostness is the cracking open. And yes, it hurts, because illusions die hard. But on the other side of this breakdown is your breakthrough. Not a better version of who you were, but the first honest version of who you are. This isn't the end, it's the beginning. So let yourself grieve, let yourself slow down, let yourself rebuild with truth, not performance, with depth, not speed. Because when you stop trying to fix yourself and start trying to find yourself, everything changes. You are not lost, you are on the path, the real one. And the more real you become, the more alive you'll feel.